No, she's not
Okay,
coming.
okay.
All right, let's hit it.
We good? Awesome. Well, I will call to order the Monday, April 3rd, 2023 City of Rollingwood Park Commission meeting. First up, we'll call roll. I'm Chad Smith, present.
Lauren Mills, present.
Nicole Marisi, present.
Don Hudson, present.
Mary Elizabeth Kofer, present.
Melissa Morrow, present.
All right. First up, public comments. Citizens wishing to address the Park Commission for items not on the agenda will be received at this time. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone?
Actually, I.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Miss Mary Elizabeth.
Hi, Mary Elizabeth Kofer, and I just wanted to say that, thank you to a group of citizens, including a few, Park Commission members, John Hudson specifically, and to Brooke Brown, a council member, and to the Rollingwood Women's Club, and specifically to Rachel, I believe her last name is Ty, and her mother Cindy. The Rollingwood Women's Club graciously gave us another grant for the butterfly garden, and, Dawn and I went shopping, and we had so much fun. We picked out some more plants for the butterfly garden, and it looks like most of the plants that we bought last year survived, all but 2 actually. So we added to the butterfly garden, we, did a lot of work as far as composting and everything, and these people helped us with all the digging and planting, and Rachel's son came and helped, and it was just so nice to have community involved, and the garden's looking really good right now. We're not through yet. We have found some benches, and we're waiting on Marnie Fitzgerald to order those, and then Don's got his work cut out for him, and we'll need some help if anyone's available, because the benches we're ordering are really nice, and we will be actually digging holes and cementing and placing those in the ground where they cannot be
Removed.
misplaced. Anyway, so, the butterfly garden is going well, and that's with the assistance, the help, the generosity of the Rollingwood Women's Club. And again, thank you to Rachel Ty and Brooke Brown for helping.
Nice. That's great
That's
to
awesome.
hear.
Well, I want to speak for Troop 31, that I know there's lots of boys who need conservation work and volunteer hours. So if you'll send us that time, we'll make sure and get some boys there.
Okay? We have plans.
All right, we'll move on to our regular agenda. First up is an update from Western Hills Girls Softball and Western Hills Little League.
Do we have to approve the minutes?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Discussion and possible action on the minutes from the February 6, 2023 Park Commission meeting. I would make a motion, we approve the minutes from said meeting. We got a second? Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Say nay. All right, we're approved. Now we move on to our big time update.
Hello, Steve Frank, Western Hills Girls Softball, also helping Model League. Season's kind of mid-swing, we will be off. I don't know if you guys play, but we do not play Easter weekends.
No,
So
we don't
be
either.
up here this weekend. But then rolling every weekend after that through around May 13th.
Okay.
You guys will probably go longer than us.
A little bit longer,
Definitely
probably.
All-Stars.
Mm-hmm.
I guess open, I've noticed wind screens have pulled off again. That was evidently a wasted effort doing metal zip ties because they didn't hold. So I will try to figure something else out and rehang them again.
What do they use at Waya or other places? Like, have we
I don't-
looked
I mean,
at
the
what
screen
works?
companies give us these heavy duty plastic ones and they cracked within a year. I think just the seat, the sun and the heat.
So is it just something
And
we
so
have to
I thought the
replace
metal
every
would work
year?
better, and they didn't hold, they just pulled off once the wind started.
Did it tear through the fabric?
No, it didn't tear the fabric, it just,
Do they have
They separate.
grommets on them?
yeah.
So I don't know if this
wondering-
would be, if this would work or not. So I was up at the stadium and they have these posters, I guess, of some of the soccer players up there. And then the way that they secure it to the fence is with, it looks like a bungee cord almost, where, and I don't know if that would work or not.
They're the lacrosse players.
Oh, the lacrosse players, never mind, okay. So Whit is up there.
No, he didn't
No.
play this year, but anyway, yeah.
So I don't know, like I said, it's just
Yeah,
treasure,
I'm
treasure.
rethinking it. It's either that or maybe some metal wire where I can actually twist it.
Twist it.
So, yeah.
That's like labor intensive, it's not exactly ideal.
Well, and when those come out, those are not good for kids to have and hold.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
that's true.
So, I
We-
don't know.
we
I
do-
was just curious, surely it worked,
We
somebody's
just,
got this
we just
down
keep
somewhere.
replacing them.
Okay.
Honestly, we just keep a whole bunch of them, and about once a
Yeah,
week
I've
we
got a
send
bunch
someone
of
out.
just trying to
Yeah.
figure out something that'll last long.
I swear, the one, I'm trying to think of the windscreen that's at, down on Cesar Chavez that Western Hills Little League just put up. I can't remember what that company, was it KMI that did that one?
I would think so,
Anyway,
but I'm not sure.
those are way up high and they usually stay, so I don't know what they're secured with. But we can go, I'll try and go look and take a picture of them.
All right, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Other than that, I wanted to at least relay, we were trying to figure out another way to get, do something in the park with the weekend. April 22nd, our whole league is playing here. Evidently, Little League always plays here, so,
Mhm.
if it's okay, we were gonna bring in Kona Ice. I think they did very well. They don't make the noise the other trailer did, so, and they were available and they would love to come. So April 22nd on Saturday, they've agreed to it. I just wanted to let you guys know.
Do you know what time?
I said 9:30 to 6 because that coincides kind of with the start to the last games.
And where are they gonna park?
I'm sorry?
So last time, it's in the middle parking lot in between 1 and 2. Basically, we coned off a big section right in the front to get the truck to the front and then also have space to where pedestrians aren't put in harm's way of cars coming in and out. So I'll just do the same thing as, basically cone off a larger area. And then when they pull up, they'll pull basically all the way in essence. And if you've seen Kona, it's not a very big truck. So it's not hard to maneuver in and out like the big trailer we had last year.
Is it a snow cone company? Is that
Yeah.
what they sell?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
kind of ice is.
Would they consider doing a profit share back to the city? I would assume they're gonna have a tremendous spike in their sales for that day with the amount of people coming through. Would they, I know Amy's Ice Cream does that with us where you give the option, you can either have a percentage discount on every cone sold or cup sold, or they would give us a percentage of profit sharing after they pay their expenses. So I don't know,
So they did that to the league last year.
okay, good.
So at least we will get it.
Oh, good.
and,
At least somebody's getting
I
it
don't
because.
mind. I know we're talking about the renovation project next on 3, 4, 5. I don't mind taking that money in, because I think, both Little League and softball have kind of committed to putting the money, so I don't mind passing it right on into that.
That'd be great.
Excuse me?
Do they pay sales tax as well?
I believe, they charge whatever and then they are responsible for that.
I don't know if there is a
Student
sales
aid.
tax on a snow cone.
It should be like restaurant food, shouldn't it? Just,
Yeah, I would
Which is
assume they're
taxed.
collecting, they're charging one price, but they're remitting sales tax. I mean, if they're a food
The city
establishment.
gets
Just like any
2% of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, if they're keeping track of it like they're supposed to, evidently if they're parked in Rollingwood, they should pay it to Rollingwood. Any other questions, comments?
Got nothing. Thank you.
Thank you.
What is the population of the players? Is that going up, down, steady?
Softball is down a little bit. Little League is steady and or growing. It's just
I think
their
we're
they're
doing
limited
pretty
by
good.
field usage and so
Right.
on.
Yeah. I would say we're probably about 800 or 900 kids.
that boys and girls combined?
No, that's just boys.
Okay.
Well, we have girls playing the lower levels of Little League.
Okay.
So, yeah, boys and girls combined.
Then there'd be the girls softball league. in
And then
addition.
girls softball is
A
usually,
little over 100.
yeah, right around 100 usually.
Okay, so
The
900,
800
1,000.
to 900 is not all here, right?
No, that's all across the board at
Yeah.
First Street Fields, at,
I think when I
Joseph.
told Kona, we were saying 400 to 500 kids or something.
probably about right.
In one day. That's just from the leagues.
All right.
All right, thank you.
So
Mo-
then will we send out notification to the city through Swift Alert or something, or does that not matter? I don't know if it's a more populated day of play versus the normal schedule, so would that matter for people, or anybody have any thoughts on that?
I don't know anything about the numbers. I mean, it
The
seems like
numbers
we
will
would
be
have the same number
Yeah,
that we
it's gonna be the
always
same
do,
number of players
so-
and fans out there. It's just they're gonna have an amenity that day.
And it'll actually be a little less because we're playing interleague,
Ah.
so we're not bringing anyone else in.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
So it will be a little bit less from our perspective. Evidently, they're always the same, but.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Quick question, does anybody have anybody, swimming and swim team this year?
Well, we swim through the WOW Club, but not on Rolling Wood Park here, no.
Cause, and the only reason, cause I know that they start in, I wanna say the end of April,
Yeah.
beginning of May.
I would
So
think that's
just, we
Swim
probably
meets.
want the next meet that comes up, that's what I was just wondering, when their first meet is.
I don't think it would be the 22nd. I
Okay.
don't think that would be until, a couple
Memorial
weeks
Day.
in. But that might be when, normally they do like a, kickoff to the season and have kids
Yeah, yeah,
swim
yeah,
the
yeah.
lap or whatever, but it's usually on a Sunday, I feel like. But I'm not involved, neither one of my kids are swimming.
I know I'm out of that
Um,
now, so, but I just remembered sometimes
they-
we overlap with them and then the parking becomes, just for the
Yeah,
police.
I don't think it
to
would
know.
be this
Circus,
early,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
I thought
Okay.
they started at Memorial Day on just because students are still in school, but maybe I'm wrong.
No,
No.
they
Oh,
usually
do?
start at the end of April
Yeah.
Okay.
and swim during school
Yeah.
Okay.
for a couple
We
weeks.
find out. I'll
I'm
text,
sure it's
uh,
on the website. Here, let me see if I can pull it up. And I don't know who's president this year.
I know Whitney Braden was really involved with it. I can ping her. She's still.
Says, merchandise packing is Saturday, April 22nd, but first week of practice is April 24th.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great.
All right,
But
good.
just y'all know that first Saturday's coming up.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, next one up is, I believe, Don's agenda item, discussion regarding the creation of a maintenance and repair document detailing the various seasonal jobs that need to be done to keep the park well maintained and looking its best.
Um,
There's a document, a similar document that could be modified that was done.
Can we
years
get
ago.
Wendy
paper
Hunley started
copies
it.
of this?
I'm not aware of that.
I can find it and send it to you, or.
Well, Don
this-
started a document, I
Oh,
believe.
have a printer at home.
What I did was I walked the park with Vicky for like 2 hours or so, and we just started at right out front, City Hall, or around by the water tanks. And everything that looked like it needed maintenance or repair, I made a note. And then I keyed them to a map. And to me, it's like there's, if there's an existing document, great. I'm just not aware of it. But I think it's real helpful for people that we hire to work on the park to say, this is what we do. We could figure out the seasonal maintenance, like some of it is monthly or 4 times a year or yearly, and we could put it on a calendar. This drawing that I made is, it's a first pass. We probably want to do something like make a map and then have numbers keyed to the notes about it. Then the notes can be a lot more plentiful if needed. Anyway, my questions about that are, is this something that we want to do? Does anybody think it's unnecessary or,
I'm gonna share this with Desiree. I'm not sure if you can share it with us now, screen share it, but this was something that came up I believe way back when Wendy Hunley and Amy Patillo were still on the commission. And so, not saying that this is your direction of what you're thinking, but instead of reinventing the wheel, maybe this is something that we were.
Is that on the city website?
No, I just shared it with Desiree. Maybe she can screen share it. I don't know what you're envisioning.
It also might be helpful to get with Izzy and see what works best for his crew who will be doing the maintenance or overseeing the maintenance if we hire someone, and I'm not sure where.
I believe some of this has gone over with them because Vicky, she's the one that came up with this, a lot of this.
Yeah, these are
So-
Vicky's thoughts on the park and its maintenance.
And
Um,
Izzy was here then.
Nicole, could you send me a link to that?
Desiree's going to include it in our packet.
I have Dawn's packet of information right here. Did anybody else want?
Oh, I would like to see it.
I have
Sure.
it in my, I just opened it up on.
Oh, I can open it up on my computer. Thank you.
I'll take it. Thanks.
My thoughts are, we,
Thank you. Thanks.
if we decide that this makes sense, we get maintenance and myself and one other person or two other people, I don't know, and we'd walk through the park and be a lot more thorough about the notes. And compile it, and it's not an enormous thing to do, but it's I feel it would be useful if it were well documented.
And I agree with Lori, get Izzy's input on this.
You bet.
Can I approach?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Izzy Bauer, Public Works. I looked at your map, or I guess it's kind of, you're gonna compile us, or try and compile a schedule from this draft, correct?
Yeah, and I feel like there's things on there that may not need to be there, and there's things that probably could be added to that. Vicki and I, we spent about 2 hours walking it, and I think there was some guesswork on her part, and mine too, and but this, what I put out is just kind of a something like this, you know, and in updating this, I would definitely have the notes as pages of notes, not keyed to the map with numbered bubble numbers, and it could even be put on a calendar. Then it's kind of reasonably well defined. And also, an idea that Melissa had, if we got this stuff pretty well defined, maybe we could get members of the community to just say, well, I'll take that round bed by the entrance to the parking for the park. Or, you know, maybe some citizens could take on some of these things if they were well defined, you know, just a thought, so.
I mean, those are, in theory, those ideas are great, but a lot of times if a project is started and it's not completed by the volunteers, then it just gets put on the wayside like everything else that happens here. So, I mean, I'm willing to work with y'all as far as, you know, this is what needs to be done, and I like getting stuff done. Once I know what it is that needs to be done. You know, we've got the mulch project we got going on in the park right now, but at any moment we can be pulled off and do a water,
Repair.
you know, a water main break or wastewater main break. Not that I'm using that as an excuse, but it happens. With y'all's guidance, if you all need some help as far as what can we schedule and when, what time of the year. by all
Well,
means, I'm-
you and I would be delighted to meet with you and walk the park and edit my notes. That would be great.
Sure.
Is there general consensus that this makes sense to put a little effort into?
I have a couple of thoughts. I think this is a great start and a great, again, in theory, but here's where I'm a little unclear on what we're doing as a park. I know that I gave, names and numbers of some, commercial vendors that might be able to help because Public Works is spread too thin to take care of the park in the manner that, you know, we would like it to be. And we were supposed to be getting bids on that, and I don't know what happened with that. That was months ago. And then, my other thought is, we went from, in our park walkthroughs, taking very detailed notes on tons of things that needed to be done, and that went nowhere. So then we went to a simplified version of our park walkthrough where you identified your top 3 priorities you thought needed to be done by Public Works before the next walkthrough, which we moved our walkthroughs to quarterly, so that would give them time to take care of those items. I haven't seen anything happen from the last park walkthrough I did, or, you know, any follow-up. So I feel like we've gotta get a process in place, but it has to be, okay, is it gonna be the Parks Department? Is it gonna be an outside crew? Is, you know, is there an accountability factor there? I just feel like a lot of times we're spinning our wheels with these grand plans and we don't see anything happen. And how do we make it manageable for Public Works or an outside company to do the things we need to do, just to get it in a better spot than we are today?
I have a question, because I'm again at the park on a regular basis, and I am seeing so much done right now that a year ago wasn't being done. I mean, I've never seen the plants trimmed up so early and mulched and everything so early in the year as I'm seeing right now. So I'm just curious, can you just give us an example of 1 or 2 things that you're talking about that you'd like to see addressed that haven't been?
So there's PVC pipe down here that's exposed and was part of somebody's garden years ago.
Oh, in the lower part.
In the lower part.
Okay, yeah, I'm not as
Yeah,
familiar with that.
so-
The community
and-
garden?
and- Well,
Yeah,
it's not part of the community garden, it's to the left of it,
It's
and
to
it's
the
kind
left
of
of it.
its own something, but nobody knows what it
Those are
is.
irrigation lines, or soaker hoses.
I talked-
That's part of what's being, mulched in the next few days.
So will that be taken out? There's hoses and
I
PVC
don't know what
pipes
that,
and.
I don't know exactly what that is, we're just gonna cover it. I don't wanna, I could spend a little bit of time running the irrigation system on there and see exactly
I
what.
don't think it's, I don't know, I won't, I know that Vicky and I had talked about it, and it's always on my things. To me, it's a safety hazard for those kids that are running around over there.
I think it was part of an edible garden that had some seasonal thing in it, and then it just kind of got dropped. It was kind of an extension, this is what I'm remembering, but I think it was kind of an extension of that, of the other garden.
The community garden?
Community
Yeah.
garden. And it was like, it was kind of a spillover, and I don't, but that's all to say that it could be that we can turn that off and either not, just cover it up for now, but in the future, just take it
I
out.
can pull it out and just cap it,
Yeah,
there's no
Yeah.
problem.
I think that's,
I think
Instead
that
of
would
trying to
be
troubleshoot
great.
it, other than, you know, I'd rather do that than spend water there that
Yeah.
there's nothing,
yeah.
Yes.
it's not
Exactly.
being used
There's
properly.
nothing there growing, cause I've been
Yeah.
watching it and reporting it for years.
Yeah.
Okay, what's
And-
another item?
I was just looking when I was just walking down here, like the weeds and the walkways and things like that, and I do think there has been a ton done, I do. I just think when I do the walkthroughs, it's typically some of the same things, the tree trimming, the seasonal things, the, quarterly things that have to be done where you're walking through the pathway and you don't hit your head or grab a tree.
Around the big shade structure, you know, the pavilion, we have a lot of
Yeah,
Drainage issues over there,
Yeah.
yes, that's
and
one
so
that's always on my
there's tripping
list.
hazard, but there's like 4 different things around that area. So
So that's an area that's gonna be addressed here in the upcoming months. We need to figure out some with, as far as doing we've thought about, we just kind of brainstormed with my guys to do some kind of French drain out there.
Yes,
Yep.
Something
because
we could
gutters can't be done, because I had a guy come out and look at that 2 years ago, and so gutters weren't an option, but the French drain might be, but that
Well, we could-
area becomes,
We can direct direct some of that flow from the rain off the gutters so we can isolate it in one corner of the drop of the pavilion, because if it just comes all the way down, then it
It
doesn't
just-
make any
right.
sense. So we can isolate it, direct it one way, or we can cut that, the sidewalk, possibly do a grate there, and, you know.
That's
we'll
a
do
great
it,
idea.
And then just run it somewhere towards the lift station. That's one of the thoughts on that.
Okay, great.
Didn't we have a gutter guy come out here, the guy that did the gutters on
Yes.
the field house, and he said we couldn't put gutters up on there?
But if they have somewhere for it to drain to, then
That's
yes,
what-
but
that's
you
much
couldn't
better.
do it as it is
It's
today.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's
So,
nowhere, it's just gonna
yes.
drain, I mean, you can put gutters on it, it's gonna.
It's just gonna, okay.
it's gonna
And then it
saturate the
becomes a
area.
muddy mess over there, and
Yes.
yes, that's been
Yeah.
an ongoing issue, and that is also always on my list
Yeah.
when I do a park walkthrough. So I'm loving that that's being addressed, and we can make that.
Well, the list that I've seen from the walks before, it's almost impossible to address every one of those at
Yeah.
one time. It's just
Oh,
almost-
absolutely, and I
the
think
personnel,
that's
we
why
have the
we
resources.
went to 3 top priorities.
And that was
we-
actually my idea.
Yeah.
Because there was there was a lot of items, and the ones that I tackled first were the ones that I thought were of safety
Safety.
Right.
issue. Over here by the playscapes, there was some rust on some of those stairs. It took maybe 10 weeks before they came in, but we replaced those stairs that were on those pictures.
Great.
I want to say there's another area right there in the playscape that had different stages or kind of steps. That's been replaced. We're slowly working, trying to
Yes.
see, you know, we've already implemented a schedule where the guys will go out there, certain playscape items will actually have a wrench or something put on it every 3 months. And then there's another one, there's other items that are a wrench or something put on it every 6 months.
Great.
It's just 'cause-
Safety.
Well, I love hearing this because oftentimes we turn in these things and we don't know where they are in the process or what's been completed or not completed. So thank you for that update.
And so any of the updates or anything that was done was actually taken a picture and reported up, so.
Okay,
I
so
can
we
look
just
into
need
that.
to
Have
maybe get
access.
those updates would be
Let-
nice.
let me-
That we
that's-
could make that part of our meeting.
That's what I was gonna say, getting back to the agenda item, because I think he was saying creating a document where we could see that stuff. So
And I'm-
Izzy, I assume you're already documenting it somewhere, like, you have a list of things that you're working on, and then, so how do you say, this is where we are in the process, like, can we make that at least public?
I'll be honest with you, I don't have it's pages go by what needs to be done, and, you know, I've got 3 guys out there, they're always looking around, hey, you know, we need to do some ag killer, put some ag killer out there, or take care of the weeds, or it's overgrown on here with the broken trees that we had during the winter, that alone in the park.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's taking, we're still working on that, cause we're still walking around and we see what they call the widowmakers,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
limbs that are
hanging
broken, but
ones.
they're still hanging up there.
Yeah,
So we're working on it, again.
it's a lot.
So-
It is.
So I guess the question is, Don, do you want to move forward with the maintenance and repair document and
Well,
work
let me-
with
let-
Izzy on?
Yeah, let me just say that lots of input. I asked, is there any kind of a consensus on this, because it does take time and I don't want to duplicate, but I'm thinking about things that are seasonal, that we do every year. For me, I would think it would be useful to have, if I were in your shoes, it would be useful to have this is how we maintain the park. A list of the weeding, the mulching, the feeding, the plants, and
I'm not sure if you can see that, it's kind of hard to see. This was created, like I said, way before my time. I'm not sure if anybody was actually on the commission when this was brought in, but it kind of, maybe to your point, Dawn is talking about areas of maintenance, operations, frequency, when they should be done, and then, kind of, to your point, Dawn, if I understand you correctly, a checklist of
Sure.
once a quarter, we're going to fertilize. Every month, we're going to mow. And Maria might have something like this, Melissa, where, you know, you could provide some insight and complement what's already started, but say, this is complex, let's simplify it, and let's, you know, make it an abbreviated version of what the world could contain, but let's really focus on identifying the priorities, and then, does that sound reasonable? And is that
What are the
manageable?
priorities and?
And do you have the workforce to be able to do it? Understanding that if you have an emergency, that's not gonna happen that
Well,
month.
workforce aside, sometimes we don't have funds.
Okay.
Maybe I
But
should
here's
get,
the thing, the best way to get funds is to document what you're doing, and that's why, like, it was really great for our organization to say, hey, I just fixed 36 things this month, and that way our board looks at it and goes, 36 things, well, no wonder you need more money. You know, it's like, and especially when it says, you know, the thing on the playscape, and then you find out that you've replaced that playscape thing 5 times this year, okay, we need to do something different. You know, that kind of stuff. So the documenting, it drives me crazy because I'm a physical person who just wants to do stuff, get it done, and not be sitting down paperwork. But the only way to get the funds through the budgeting process, et cetera, is to show, well, this is really how much it costs and this is how much time. Because, I mean, that will help you get more people also. Look at all these things we've done. But I think that an ABC, for us, they do a similar thing, and it basically says by the month, not so different than this, that says in January, this is when we, you know, blah, blah, blah. This is when we fertilize, this is when we do weed kill, this is when we, and then it tells you by month what you're gonna do, so you can definitely do that. And then you can use it as a checkbox. It's like, yeah, we didn't get to that in January because of the freeze, you know? But that's the kind of stuff that it's, the only way you'll get more credit and help is by documenting it. I hate
And
to
I'm
say
not
it.
opposed to
Yeah,
John,
yeah.
creating that documented schedule, and if you need my input,
your input would be critical, so.
If you could make it a simple process for him so he's not bogged down with
Yeah.
paperwork, so he can keep doing his job, because they're pretty busy as it is. But if you can keep it a simple process for them to do the
Yeah,
documentation.
these are things that many or most of them we have been doing weekly, monthly, yearly, and there are things that just slip through the cracks. And this is not an attempt to add work. This is an attempt to make a nice, when all these things are done, the park should be as beautiful as it can be within reason. And once you've got a list, you can assign priorities to things. And I hear a kind of a this is not something that the Park Commission seems to be just jumping up and down to get done.
I think we need it. We
Yeah.
just need to make sure that it's, you know,
Usable.
as simple as possible.
Well, it needs to be complete. I mean, it doesn't need to be we add things to it that are not needed, but
So,
when you walk the park, you can see that, and I'll definitely take a look at that, but when you walk the park, there's just a lot of little things that slip through the cracks,
like,
you know?
here's a component of it: horticulture maintenance, mow grass, edge sidewalks, pull weeds, cultivate beds, mulch, cut back shrubs, plant new plants, plant new trees.
Yeah, I think this document would be really helpful,
Yeah.
and if you
So-
can marry the two, I
Right.
think we'll be in
Yeah.
great shape.
And that way, take what's already been started, you maybe prioritize what you feel based on your walk with Vicky, and then get with Izzy, so we value his time. And if you hone in on prioritizing what's already been started, or add in where you think there might be a loop, you know,
Yeah,
hole.
that's
And then you take
pretty
30
much what I
minutes
would
of
do.
Izzy's
Yeah,
time
because
and
the
say,
list is
hey,
there.
right, so take 30
So maybe
minutes of
to
his
go
time versus
forward,
2
maybe
hours.
I should meet with Izzy, bring my list
And the map.
and the map, and go through it, and just like, you know, you tell me what to scratch and what to add, and maybe we can put a priority and maybe a schedule element to it. So, well, I would, if we left it at that, which is basically to edit and update the document,
Yes.
that'd be great. And if anybody on the Park Commission other than me is interested in that, it doesn't matter to me. But it would take some time to walk through and get all that. But I think Izzy knows it probably better than any of us do, because he.
Well, it doesn't
Listen,
sound like
wants it.
we need a motion or anything. We just need to green light you
Yeah.
to move forward with this and marry in the 2 documents and Izzy.
I'd say so.
Okay. I'm all for it.
So let me get that thing out. And where can I find that again, Nicole?
I put it in the packet, so you can find it right beneath where yours was in the packet.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes, if
And,
you log in right now, you'll be able to pull it up off of the agenda.
okay, and I'll get a hold of you and we'll plan on putting it together.
And Izzy, just so you know, I'm getting ready to plant, we are getting ready to plant some lantanas in that circular bed up front.
Okay.
We're gonna replace those that died this last winter.
All right.
Thank you.
Moving on to
Thank you.
agenda item number 5, discussion regarding the fields 3, 4, and 5 rehabilitation project with private donations. Pleased to see Kevin has joined us, because this is his baby. But do you want to talk about it, or you want me to? Okay,
Well, yeah, you do, and you explained it, but
sure.
it's been a little bit of an evolving project as we've gotten more expertise to come look at it, and we've been fortunate to have some really good expertise to look at the fields, and I'm really glad that I've been working with you on the project in baseball, and also with Izzy, who's been great, working with me and Phil on things like the sprinkler system, going through that. It's a whole system with lots of issues that we've been working our way through. And then it's been great about doing our pre-emergent application and then our fertilizer application, which we've done 2 of already this year. And then we'll do some more this summer. The problem area that we identified, was that fields 3, 4, and 5, and at first we thought there wasn't really any Bermuda grass in there, and that all the soil was just sort of hopeless. And we had a bunch of people come out and look at the John Deere Landscapes folks, which are called One Source now, I think. I'm always getting their name wrong. And Izzy's been shopping there, and they're a good supplier. And they sent a consultant out, an agronomist, and he did soil testing, and looked at the whole thing. And he was okay, he was good, he had some good suggestions, and, but then, we also are working with the folks that are doing the Western Rose Wood.
KMI?
Yeah, KMI, which is Sean Kincaid.
That's it.
He's a great guy,
Mhm.
and he's a real smart guy, and he's, done the dirt rework on field 1, and he's got a contract to do sod in the infield, which
Mhm.
I don't think that's what he needs to do, and neither does he, because he thinks with a little fertilizer, we might as well bring it back, but I know that's already in progress. It
Mhm.
will look kind of shiny if they do it.
Yep.
But over time, really the fields 1 and 2, the grass in the outfield is pretty good, and the fertilizer and pre-emergent and watering is gonna really make those look great. 3, 4, and 5, we thought the grass was all shot, but now there's, that it's warming up, and the fertilizer and pre-emergent thing, there is Bermuda grass all over the place out there, and we finally I have Blake Whittlesey is a friend of mine, because I'm doing a real estate deal a development deal with him in Liberty Hill, where we have adjoining land, and we made a development agreement, or paving a road together, so we got some business together, so I asked him, and he just sold Whittlesey Landscapes to John Deere, to that One Source.
Mm.
But he is still involved in it very heavily, and I guess he's still running it for a while, but I asked him to give us some stuff, and he said that he would get us soil at such a cost. But what he did was he sent out an expert, which is a guy who's a 20-year baseball or college baseball coach, and he's spent 3 or 4 years with Whittlesey, and he happens to be the same guy that KMI uses as their consultant from Whittlesey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Small world.
So Sean, yeah, it's a little small world. That's how you can tell when you've gotten enough second opinions and such, is when they start sort of circling back on each other. You've gotten all the good input. So that guy was great because he's super practical, and he identified some of the problems better than anyone else had. And I've got pictures. I don't know if anybody saw any of that on our last council meeting, but I had it as part of the packet. But you can see basically the problem is right there at the gate here, fields 3, 4, and 5.
The gate by the batting cages?
No, on the other side.
No, on the other side.
So where
Okay.
there's
From the parking lot.
From the parking lot
Oh,
to
by
the,
the- by
to
the bleachers.
fields 3, 4, and
benches
5.
are,
Yeah.
and you're just entering.
Yeah, and I'll just give you a quick picture here.
I pulled it up.
Oh, you did?
Yes,
Okay.
perfect, thank you
So-
for including it.
You can kind of see a lot of dirt right in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so he was real clever because he, what he explained was that if you look at the drainage on the field, it breaks kind of in the middle of field 3 and it's supposed to flow towards the pool, swimming pool area, and the rest of it flows to the west. So it's supposed to flow east across there. And what's happened is what happens is it's similar to the lips on the that form on the baselines where they have to go in and cut down those lips.
Yep.
What's happened is a lot of that dirt's been kicked up under the fence, and so there's a lip of dirt under where the fence is that causes the water to not flow out. And then when the water stays in there, in that area, what happens is the sitting water tends to compact the soil and of course kill the vegetation, and then it makes mud, which causes more erosion and causes more migration of the dirt to the lip. So what he suggested we do is a couple things. Number one, he says, let's put in another gate, just as you're facing the fields from the parking area to the left of that one, so it'd be kind of behind the backstop.
Okay.
To give some relief, and we might even put 2 gates in, another one sort of halfway down between those 2 bleachers. And then you can give them relief and close a gate, lock it, and direct people to, the gate that's unlocked. So you can give that area some relief. But also, he said we should remove the fabric from the fence, cut that lip down. Gonna have to bring in about 20 or 30 yards of dirt, but just in this low spot. We don't have to go bring dirt into the whole field area. And then he suggested that we do is top dress all the fields with about a 1/4 inch of mulch, what we'd put in here for dirt would be a 50-50 dirt mulch mix, sand mulch mix in this low spot, but that's like 30 yards of dirt, which is not a lot. It's a truckload basically, 20 yards, one big truckload. And then do the 1/4 inch of mulch over all the fields and aerate them. And we thought we would do that in June at the end of baseball season. And then for this area that we fixed with the dirt, we can either sod it if we have enough money because it's not a really big area, or we could hybrid mulch it, which is really cheap. And since baseball's out, and if we have other gates that we can use, we can sort of tape off a little area, even if we had to hybrid mulch it for cost. But for about maybe 10 weeks at most, even if we hybrid mulch, probably a month if we sod.
So you're talking about sod on 3, 4, and 5, and top dressing on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Correct.
Okay.
And the sod would only be a small area. I'm gonna guess it's about maybe 4,000 square feet in there, just right inside the gate where the field is. But the
Okay.
main thing is to establish the drainage more appropriately and permanently where you can maintain it. And, where you basically will bring some kind of a swale under the fence. You might hard surface the swale with something, but, this guy had some great ideas, and Sean is great to work with. So our idea is we've gotten some donations committed, enough to do the project. We had like $12,000 offered already, and then from just individuals, and then I'm gonna support it myself as well. But then with Whittlesey donating some stuff, if we get to some costs, that'll help too. But the donations will all go through the city, and the contract will be between the city and Sean Kincaid.
Okay.
Is the plan. We will probably contract the fence work separately, directly with the same fence company that put in the fence.
I think it's Viking fence.
Yes, Viking. We're
Yeah.
gonna do that directly. And then, Sean, we have our own aerator, which is nice, at the city. I don't know that we just cruise used it yet, but we're gonna try it out, see if it works. It's not a plug extractor, but, it might help. We'll see how it works. We'll try it out. If we need to do a plug extractor, KMI rents them
Okay.
and does that. They don't have their own, but they do that. And then as far as
So the one we have is just something that pokes holes in the
Correct.
grass,
Like spikes.
and it doesn't pull out the little.
Right.
Uh,
pull out plugs.
like little plug samples, okay.
Better if we can do it in June, I don't think
Mhm.
it'll bother anybody then, especially if we top dress with the mulch, because we'll get back down in the holes.
I don't think it'll bother baseball or softball.
Yeah, it's just a question of, when we get the total cost of the project, and also between now and then, we'll probably run that aerator, and sometime whenever y'all think it's good, if y'all would just run it and see how you like it.
We do it at the beginning of next week. We're supposed to have some rain at the end of this week,
Yeah,
and it'll
it's
make
been
the soil levels soft.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So they're gonna test that, it's one of those water fields, like Rome type. Yeah. for where-
Okay.
And then, I used to have one of those too. On a polo field, I used to keep up for Texas Tech, members of the field. But anyway, that is the plan,
So then in the 10 weeks of resuscitation, 3, 4, and 5 are closed.
no, just the little area, inside the gate that is now dirt. We-
So that would be technically field 3?
Yeah, field 3
Field
really, just field.
No?
Field 3 is way in the back.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, field 3 is the back left one.
I think it's field
Um,
five.
Field 5.
Yeah.
So
I think it'd be
then
part of,
you won't have foot traffic from either humans or pets there?
Yeah, and the idea that, that pet traffic has been the problem in those fields is just not right. The problem in those fields has been a lack of irrigation, fertilizer, and pre-emergent weed control, and also the real main problem in that area is a drainage problem. That's why that area is dirt, it's not animals, it's not,
so you're just gonna rope off that area with the new sod?
That's the plan.
Okay.
New solder or hybrid mulch over,
Yeah.
some new sandy loam mulch mix.
Are they going to remove the fence material to get out the hump that is formed there?
Exactly.
I mean, conceivably, that could be temporarily used to wall off.
True.
That doesn't need to be
We'll
built.
probably keep it down as little as possible though, because it's probably gonna get a little bit of like a hazard scene. But the contractor's a good professional contractor. I like Sean.
Mhm.
He's a sharp guy and he's real professional. So, we'll get him to manage the whole project. The fence guys, I think we could do that, fence removal and cut down that lip and do that grading in one day, like
Yeah.
remove the fence one day, cut it down one day, put the fence back the next day. But we'll bring in the dirt while the fence is down too, because we're gonna bring a truckload of dirt in, and, the mulch will spread with a top spreader, and KMI has their own top spreader.
Okay.
I believe he does.
Would you use mulch or compost?
It's the same thing, whatever they recommend from Whittlesey.
Okay,
For
okay.
that kind of material, but it'll be, I used to always like to use peat moss for that function, but it's real expensive and I don't think that's what we get.
Okay.
It'll probably be probably a pine bark type mulch, but we want something kind of fine so that it disappears into the grass and it works its way into the extracted bugs. So it wouldn't be, we wouldn't use it would be composted, it's not you're right, it's not the same.
Wouldn't be, but it wouldn't be
It's
coarse,
not bark.
It's not gonna be.
coarse ground
Yeah,
up
we don't want,
trees.
we don't want that.
Forest trees, that's just mulch, we're gonna use a composted mulch.
Okay.
And it could be something like cotton burrs, that's a real popular one, at least in West Texas, we use a lot of cotton burr mulch.
Yeah, it's,
But it's whatever Whittlesey's gonna get us a good deal on, but it's gotta be something that, you're right, it's gotta be composted, and so that it'll be fine and disappear into the soil, we don't want it when it's not sitting on top of the grass, like fibers and bark
Yeah.
chips,
So I watched the part of the city council meeting where you brought this up, and I think basically the idea is you're just letting all of us know what's going on out there, and I think it's all positive, beautification of the park. So I think, I'm all for it.
So then are
We've
you,
talked
so
about it.
I'm just still a little confused as to how you're going, so you're gonna keep that field open for use, but you're just going to rope off the section that's needing the 10 weeks of revitalization.
And we're gonna close the gate that is the main gate and put in an alternative gate for people to use.
Okay, so then with I-9, if they wanna rent the field, they're still able to do that, because as long as they're
They can, parts of the field,
So they could do the portion that's not being renovated or
yeah, which is gonna be most of the field. I would say only, probably 10 or 15% of the field is gonna have to be closed, of the fields. The other thing we thought we'd get Sean to do while he was there, and which he suggested was, and so did this other consultant for Willis, he suggested that we put some clay in at the base stops for the fields, and even maybe for the pitchers and that. And
Yeah, sure.
and because he says they're gonna be dirt anyway, and he says that'll just maintain better than this sandy lawn.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Less muddy, so we're gonna talk to Sean about that. We've got a little time to plan the work, not a lot of time.
Well, thank you so much for your work on this. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
yeah,
This
for
sounds great.
spearheading
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Is there anything else you need from us, though? Because we've got a couple more
I just
agenda
wanted to
items.
let let you guys where we're at, see if you guys had any other input or feedback or.
Nope.
Good plan or bad plan.
I'll talk to you after about fundraising and establishing a 501c3 people can donate to.
Okay, well, we don't even need to do that because the city is a proper donee for
Okay.
tax deduction
Perfect.
purposes.
That works out well.
It's gonna funnel through this.
Perfect.
Yeah, and everything's gonna go through the city for that purpose, and, because the project's under $50,000, we won't need to competitively bid, which is a
Great.
convenience. That was one thing I was like thinking.
Yeah,
We're
that would
trying
be.
to get we got donated stuff, and, it's such little stuff, I thought if we had to get competitive bidding on taking fence fabric down, it's gonna be really annoying, because it's, we wanna use Viking.
Yeah.
So none of these funds are coming from our lease agreement.
No, none of the funds are
Correct.
coming from anything other than donations.
or RCDC.
No, not RCDC.
So it's all privately funded.
It's private donations. Couple of, like 3 people offered to make donations, and I'm gonna donate
Great.
as well, so it's just whatever and we're gonna get something from baseball on it.
Mhm.
Work out what, they've got a process, but.
You missed it. Steve talked earlier, and we're going to have a cone ice truck out here in a couple weeks, and we're talking about maybe doing a profit sharing thing with them, and anything we rake in from that going to your
great.
project.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got, like I said, we've got, 12.5 donated. I said I would give up to 15,000 if we need it, and if we got another 2,500 from baseball, that would make it 30,000. I think it's important that baseball contribute something, so that they're on
Yes,
board.
I agree.
And I told Chad, I don't even wanna do the project if they don't give something, because I just want them to be part of it.
Mhm.
I think that's kind of the minimum that I think would help, like, give us the feeling that we're all in it together.
Sure.
And, cause especially with us being able to do work on all the fields, that really helps, cause that's the problem with baseball, is it's really not one group, it's like
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 groups.
Mhm.
So it's kind of hard to, manage. But then we've got another agenda item for, the suggestion of RCPC, which whenever y'all are ready.
I don't. Do we need any further discussion on that rehab project? Can we
No.
move on to agenda item number 6? Discussion possible action to recommend the city council to rejuvenate the fields at the park, improve the walking trails, improve the south parking lot along Rollingwood Drive with pervious material, and leave the north parking lot and Rollingwood Drive parking unchanged.
This was my agenda item, and I want to, for the purposes of being expedient with our time, I have to leave at 1 o'clock. I see that this and item number 7 have a lot, they kind of merge here. So I'm going to defer part of this as far as like the walking trails, that can be addressed with item number 7. Basically, I'd like to start by talking about the south parking lot along Rollingwood Drive. I don't think that, if we look back at our past meetings, we have spent a lot of time looking for parking places. Parking is very important for this park. We can walk to this park if we need to. Some of these people coming here to play ball, they cannot. We need every parking place we can get. We cannot do away with that parking lot. However, if we're going to do anything with it, I'd like to make sure that we maintain a pervious cover to that parking lot, because we do not need to add to any more drainage issues. There are a number of ways that this can be addressed. And if you go online, you can look that there's different paving options that would do that. It could be done with gravel. There are a number of ways to address this, but I think we need the parking lot and we need to keep it pervious.
Could I respond to that one point before you make your next point?
Yes,
So no one has suggested getting rid of the south parking lot along Rollingwood Drive.
Good.
It's never been suggested
Perfect.
by anybody.
Very good.
What we talked about was the north parking lot that is in the back as you go down the east side of the fields and then get to the north parking lot. However, when I raised that with council, there was no support for that suggestion either, so there's no question about removing any parking that's
Perfect.
even up for discussion.
very
This
good.
whole-
Then we can just move on.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, but again, parking lots, I think all our parking lots need to remain pervious.
Well, they're not now.
Well, they
That's
need to
not
be.
what-
They're more what is asphalt right now is crushed asphalt that was from the road that they dumped it in there, and it has pretty much kind of merged together. It was never poured as asphalt.
Right. I use crushed asphalt roads on my ranch, and I'm quite familiar with them, but we're getting a cart ahead of the horse a little bit because we're not even talking about like designing or planning or approving anything other than just, does our CDC want to spend some money? And if they do, then we'll have a number that we can use, and then we can come up with options for different projects. And then as we came up with different options for different projects, we could talk about design criteria for those projects.
Well, and that's
like
fine. I'm
pervious
just-
or impervious.
And I'm just saying, I really think, given the fact that we are on the Edwards Aquifer recharge zone, given the fact that we have serious drainage issues, I'm saying going forward, I believe that all parking, all right-of-ways, everything needs to remain or needs to be pervious. That is
Sure.
the way I feel about this. Let's see, and the parking, I guess that's on Rollingwood Drive, that's already been addressed. And as far as improving the walking trails, I think we're getting ready to address that in item number 7. So I'm going to suggest we move on.
Sounds good. Item number 7, discussion on the possibility of requesting the use of RCDC funds to make capital expenditures for trail, drainage, and parking lot or other park improvements. Is this you?
Yeah, that's fine. So
Okay.
it's just, we wanted to know whether the park commission supports the idea of using RCDC money to do park improvements in general. We're not trying to decide exactly what improvements to do. It's just a question of whether we want to look at using that money for parking improvements, for trail improvements, for drainage improvements at the park. If this group agrees that that's a good use of RCDC money, and RCDC agrees it's a good use of RCDC money, and we get an idea of how much there might be, they've got $400,000, and I don't think there's anything to spend it on. Based on what I've seen at the meetings, as I'm also RCDC liaison. So, if they support it, there's $400,000. I think that trail needs a lot of work. As far as the parking lots go, I think there's a lot of things that could and should be done for the parking lots. I understand and agree with your sentiment about pervious cover. I don't know what the design standards are or options are for that, but that's something that we would get in a proposal from a landscape architect or whatever kind of architect worked on this. I would say right now those parking lots don't meet virtually any design standards and would violate code in almost every municipality that there is.
They weren't built recently.
I understand that, and that's why we're talking about doing something about it
Yes.
now, because.
Leftovers from paving projects over the last 20 years.
Yeah, and that's fine, it
That's
is
the
what
standard.
it is what it is, but my only point is that they need work.
Oh,
to-
no,
to come
I
up with standards.
absolutely agree. That's why we're here.
And I think there's some solutions that are out there that are poor solutions, like the boulders that are left along the drive on the east side of the fields is a poor solution and not a standard solution that you would see any architect or landscape architect.
Well, I
recommend.
think that's a matter of taste.
Question. So,
And it's a matter of design standards because, people don't see them, they hit them, they're not effective at keeping people off grass because people drive between
I
them.
think they're pretty effective at keeping people off the trail.
Well, it may be a matter of taste, and that's fine. All we're talking about doing is getting some general idea of spending some of that money on the park and then coming up with a design professional to come up with options for us to consider. And if everybody agrees that with your, idea that the boulders are a good idea, then they'll stay. But I think that we could do better, but that's a matter for debate later. It's really.
I think it is.
So,
Go ahead.
has the master plan come back into surface at all? Or is that just completely null and void and disregarded? Because wasn't there a comprehensive study that took years upon years upon years, and then this was
A
the
lot of money.
recommendation?
Yep,
A lot of
I
money.
looked at it, I read it.
Because it seems similar to what you were proposing.
There's some good ideas in there, and I thought that the idea of getting rid of the north parking lot, which is in the master plan, and maybe even, and we talked about taking some of the land from fields 3, 4, and 5 to make a dedicated dog park. That was a suggestion that I
Thanks,
brought.
Myself,
I like
Lori-
that idea.
Well,
I
myself,
brought
Laurie,
that-
and David Raymond had put together and went to council and gotten a bid on that and got it approved and passed. And so, again, I'm not trying to stir up waters here. I'm just trying to get
It's
clarification
dead,
of.
To answer your question,
Yeah.
it's a dead suggestion. I brought it up at council, there was no support for it, we moved on. And so that's a dead horse, of getting rid of that north parking lot and turning it into a dog park is I'm the only one who suggested that there might be some sort of, grand compromise to be made that would benefit everybody. It would be a win-win situation where the problem with the last dog park proposal was that it was much too small. It was more like a dog penitentiary rec yard than a dog park. And we would have had to make a compromise where we get some more space from fields 3, 4, and 5, and use the parking lot too. But it just didn't have any support. So leaving that aside, there are still opportunities for improving that parking to make it a lot safer. Right now, the way that people use those lots are inefficient and unsafe because
Yeah.
it's what we would call single stack parking as a developer, where you have a long lane and very little parking associated with it. It's inefficient, and the way people park and turn around in there with unmarked spaces, somebody's gonna get run over or something, or crushed between a car and one of those boulders. It's just, inevitable the way that is substandard, in
So-
my opinion.
The agenda item is RCDC funds to make capital expenditures for trail drainage parking lot. So I guess, are we trying to take action on this?
There's a process that we put forward in the proposal. I don't know if it made it into this agenda item.
I didn't see it.
for action today.
Yeah, not posted for action. So all we're doing is like informing and getting feedback and getting temperature, taking everyone's temperature.
So
on
it
on
seems like to me, so possibility of requesting RCDC funds, I don't think there'd be, I can't imagine a Parks Commission member saying, we don't want money from
Okay,
somebody.
that's what I'm.
And
Yeah.
we have been, they've really handcuffed us on
Well,
for
that's
how
what I-
we used to use it. And I
Yeah.
think, what
Say that again, I'm sorry.
we used to use our CDC money quite a bit, and
Okay.
then we were advised by the new attorney that we weren't using those funds appropriately, and so we really haven't used any funds, which is why you see that surplus, because we haven't
Right.
been allowed to use it, because part of what we as a group have really kind of held to the past few years is we didn't want to add capital improvements, or we didn't want to add to the park things we could not maintain, because we're not maintaining what we have well. And so they said, well, we can't use our money. So the fact that we could use this to help what we already have
Yeah.
sounds great. My
I'm
question.
with you on maintenance. That's.
I do
cities
not wanna
always
add
wanna
more.
build new stuff and don't take care of their own stuff. I hate
Yes,
that.
yes, so that's sort of where we've all been
Right.
with the whole RCDC thing. My question is, you're talking about bringing in consultants and things like that. Does our CDC also pay for that, or where would that money
No.
come from?
You can capitalize that. So the real limitation on the expenditures by state law is capital expenditures, but capital expenditures is not necessarily a defined term, and even well, it is a defined term, but it comes, essentially out of the Internal Revenue Code, where you either have to capitalize an expense and depreciate it over years, or you can expense it in the current year.
Yeah.
But those lines are very blurry. So, for example, if you have a bad roof and you need to, fix the roof, and on a commercial building, you can either capitalize it or expense it, depending on why
What
you might
works
wanna do
best.
one of the, yes, what looks best, because you wanna capitalize it to make your net income look high, so your project looks profitable, so when you go to sell it, you have a high net income. But you also wanna expense it, because you wanna take it in the current year, and over the last few years, I've had what they call bonus 179 depreciation, which has been unlimited, so you can expense every capital expenditure, so everybody's just been, you know, it doesn't matter anymore under the tax law, or it hasn't for the last 5 years, but, anyway, there's a lot of gray area. And so we can, for example, if we were just doing a little bit of maintenance if we're doing maintenance on the trail, like spraying weeds or something, that's clearly an expense, not a capital expenditure. But if we go in and fix the metal edging that is deteriorated and fix some of that stone retaining, some of which is
Yes.
on the curb.
Well,
and
that's
doesn't
been on
go
our
in there,
list for
well,
years
we can get
with,
it done. And
So I think
we-
what
Park
we need for this
walkthroughs.
agenda item to be successful is to know what the parameters are of what we're allowed to ask for and what we're not allowed to ask for.
what doesn't sound like they're
Well,
asking.
well, I'm just asking for a short, like, here are the 5 guidelines, because we could talk about this honestly for the next 25 minutes. I'd
But
love to hear, what some other.
Brian
people-
Ryder's
Yeah, Brian's right
here
behind
to
you
talk
speak.
on behalf of the RCDC.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
So-
then I can sit down and be quiet, but, you know, generally,
I'd like to share the podium.
Yep.
yeah,
Sure.
if you wanna spend
Yeah.
money on something that, it's the lawyer's job to tell you how to do it, not to tell you you
Right.
can't do it.
No, I know.
Damn right.
That's right.
So we can do that.
Luckily, we have a lawyer in the room.
He likes to
Or several.
Or some pretend.
We're in-
And tell about all his
We have
projects.
law degrees,
All his
so we have
projects.
to ask for accommodation for that. Okay, Brian Ryder, I'm the director of RCDC. I was actually the founder of RCDC. I can only speak for myself at this meeting, but let me give you a little information. The RCDC has on its books about $400,000, $450,000 probably now. We make about $13,500 a month from sales tax, mostly from over on BJ Road. Of that, Kevin, about 120 or so has been approved by the city council, probably before you came on the city council, for projects such as paying lawyers' fees, for dealing with the overhead NOPAC extension, for doing some connectivity ideas about traffic and other things. So some of that is
Excuse me,
committed.
Brenda, can you speak into the microphone so it will pick up?
Okay, so some of that is committed, but there's still a bunch of money there, and the RCDC is aware that we need to find something to do. We too feel handcuffed by the concern over use of our project money, our money for projects versus maintenance.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna work with Kevin and maybe have to work in a different meaning of that word, work over the attorneys for the city over this issue. There has never been a attorney general's opinion, a court case, or any other legal impediment other than what lawyers think to be very, very safe about using RCDC kind of money for maintenance. And there's a provision in the statute that says if the RCDC has provided the capital for it, they can pay money to improve it, to maintain it.
Wait, I'm sorry, can you repeat that last sentence? If the if they have paid for the capital, what?
Then they can use RCDC money for the maintenance.
Oh, good.
All right?
Good to
So
know.
there's a lot of flexibility there
Good.
that hasn't been manifest by the RCDC. I just got back on the commission 2 months ago. And I think needs to definitely be improved, all right? But there's money there. I personally, I can only speak for myself now, not for the RCDC, would love to see a lot of it used for
Yes.
exactly what you're talking about. May I make a suggestion, and I will put this on the agenda, the RCDC next meeting's Monday noon next week. And suggest that we create a project. The RCDC is statutorily required to operate by defining a project, taking it to city council,
Yes.
getting approval, then we actually have to publish the thing and the rest of it, no longer Westlake Cookie, I guess we publish it in the American Statesman, and if nobody objects, then we can start spending money, but de facto, we always just
Yes.
published and started spending money. Let me suggest that we think about, very quickly, doing a project that would be to hire somebody appropriately skilled to work on the plans that you might have here, that we don't have the expertise perhaps in the room to make these things up, detail, so that we can then create another project which would actually be funding these things. But I think we need to bring some specificity to it in order to move it along.
First step.
So what do you think we need? 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand, what do you
Well,
want?
what are you proposing then?
Hiring a
To hire a
designer.
consultant
Landscape
to,
architects and or
Okay.
other design professionals to bring some certainty to what we're
To
requesting.
the walking trails and the.
I
Well, I
think,
met with
I think
Tim
based
Eich.
on what Kevin just told us, they're gonna be dealing with some significant issues with the drainage, and that's huge. But, what we've talked about before, when you get down to that slope from the field house down towards, the play area and all that,
Right through here.
yeah,
Yes.
that's definitely, we're gonna need to hire somebody. I have no idea what kind of cost that we would incur there, though.
Look, this is just a project
Preliminary.
to
Yeah.
allow
Yeah.
opening of a budget for.
Yeah,
for-
okay, let's say 30,000.
What do you think?
And I can get a proposal, I've got some landscape architects here in town that do a lot of work for me, and they owe me some money for this period.
So we can hire and pay them and then we can get the.
Well, we
pay
could
you.
probably get them to give us a really good deal, but I think if we spent, and I'm just gonna guess at this point, but we should get a number from them, but I think if we spent $20,000, it depends on how deep we wanna go into this.
Authorized.
Authorized.
We're
We-
authorizing, we're opening a checkbook.
Yeah.
We're not
Cause we might
actually
only
saying we're
spend
gonna sign a
5 or
contract.
10 at the first blush, so,
It's-
but yeah, if we authorize.
We need to-
I feel like we are authorizing something extremely vague.
But we do need to get this dealt with. If we're gonna get the, if
No,
we're
I
gonna get the
understand, but I
drainage.
don't- But I wouldn't even know what we're going to ask this landscape group to do. We're saying, look at our whole park, we have a master plan that nobody likes.
There's some high
and-
priority things.
and-
No, it'd be look at parking and look at the walking trail and make recommendations
Okay.
for and drainage, those 3 things.
And sustainability of those things.
And we're always into sustainability, of course.
Okay.
And so we, get them to give us a proposal for ideas, options on what to do with those things and rough cost estimates for those projects. So then they come back to us as a community and we say, okay, we like option 1 on the trail, it's gonna cost $100,000 roughly, then we ask for authorization to do the trail project.
So
Or
why-
we get parking and they.
Why-
There's gotta be a series of.
Okay, so why wouldn't
proposals.
we say, we wanna interview 3 of you guys to come in here and pitch us in 10 minutes what your ideas are for free? Like,
No,
come up,
that doesn't work.
wait. What I'm asking you to do
Depends
is,
on how much time you wanna take, Melissa.
well, what I'm saying, here's my idea,
Talking
because,
and how much we-
no, this is what I'm saying though, is, well, you're writing a blank check for $20,000 to some friend of his that did some work for him. That doesn't work for me very well in a public setting. What I'd rather see is 3 guys come up here and say, we love your business, we know you have a budget of 20,000, here's what I can do for 20,000, I'll give you 10, 15 hours, whatever they're gonna say. Because some people will walk up here and say, my 1 day of walk around and a hand drawing will cost you $20,000, and somebody else will actually come up with a list of plans and exactly how to do it and other.
Let me suggest that if you
Yeah.
guys want to pick a landscape architect, that you just do that. and
Okay.
pick one.
All right, let's do that.
But why would this deviate significantly from the master plan that we already have? We met with your friend Tim Eichler about the walking trails and restoration of that. How do we put that compound material in there to keep it from the decomposed gravel? Like,
Well-
we've done a
We've
lot
done a
of
lot
small
of-
projects
Well-
that are very similar to what we're discussing, but
That-
we never had any momentum because we had 0 funding on it or collaboration of, let's go ahead and get a bid on this, and then let's take it to city council, let's talk to RCDC. So again, I'm not opposed to spending money, but to Melissa's point is that and Lori, we've done a lot of these small
There's
projects
good work
internally.
in that park plan, but it's also, there's a lot of just like fluff.
Oh, we didn't have anything to do with the master plan.
No.
Well-
We were talking
But we,
So I
what we
guess
did.
that's what
No.
I'm trying to figure out is what direction are you gonna give to the landscape architect? Are you gonna say follow the master
Here's
plan,
what I
or
would
here's
do.
what Kevin thinks we
Here's
should
what I
do?
did, I contacted DT grad school too.
You have to,
Speak in the
you have
mic.
to talk in the mic.
I also contacted the UT grad school to try to get some grad students to help us because my daughter just got her master's in architecture at UT. And so I reached out to the chair of the landscape architecture department. I thought it'd make a great grad student project to get some free work, but so far I haven't gotten, they're not eager.
No takers.
But what I would do with the landscape architect, and I work landscape architects, not just this group here, Lee and Associates, which is, they're not friends of mine. They're people that I do business with, who are just very good. But there are lots of them, and I don't care who anyone hires. But if you try to invite 3 landscape architects to come here and pitch us for free their ideas at walking trails, you won't get anyone worth talking to come do that. So the best way to do it is to pick a firm that's reputable, that you like who they are, and you give them a limited scope and say, I want you to tell us, give us a proposal for how much you're gonna charge us to come in, look at our walking trail, make recommendations, look at our parking, make recommendations, look at our drainage, make recommendations, and give us options where you can, and give us cost estimates if you can, which are generally easily done based on takeoffs. They call it, they'll draw the whole thing up, probably might already be drawn, but you give us a proposal. We'll ask them to look over everything that's been done before, and, let's not turn it into a giant, report thing that covers everything in the world that everyone can think of to do in the park, because it'll never get done.
No, I
But this is
understand
what
that,
we
but
did.
that's
We
the point, yeah.
prioritized this. We put a mission out to the commission here as the January before last, that every one of our commission members to take an initiative off of the master park plan and then start to dive into it. You and I talked about parking. Don, you, Mary Elizabeth, and I were talking about the walking trails with Tim. I know that all of us have done some kind of digestion on that plan to give us an idea to go and start to sleuth. So I guess where I'm confused is that we've done a lot of what we felt as a commission were prioritized projects, but we never took it to the next step.
I want to speak to that. I think that this is how we pull that together. I think we have the ideas, but you have to face it. The drainage is the issue. Those plants can't work until the drainage is addressed, and we didn't address the drainage. All those things we talked about did not address the
On
drainage.
the master plan.
Until the drainage is addressed, that we can't fix those trails. We can make what we looked at on the trails, we looked at Staylock. They're using it on the Violet Crown Trail. You can use as little or as much as is necessary, depending on how much of a slope is there, how much water runs across it, whether it's ever underwater. It's a wonderful substance that they're using, and it would work on this trail based on the experts that we've had. But I think to do something like that, it would be good to have a landscape architect to look at the big picture and give us some proposals for the landscape, and a landscape architect to look at this, and then us have them talk to Tim Eischen and him do his part of it.
So is this even something that we are gonna approve in the end? Is it gonna be city council that's gonna do it? We could talk about this for another hour.
Probably, but I mean,
Well, so what, again,
here's
how
the
are you
deal.
trying to use our time?
Y'all are way further down the road than I am, or we are, I think. All we're looking for is just general support for the idea of RCDC spending money on the
Yes,
park.
please.
We want you to spend it.
Please
Yeah.
do.
Yes.
With the
Yeah.
first step being just hire some expertise
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
define what it is that will
Yeah.
then.
That
bring
sounds
back
great.
the talk
Yes.
to
Yes.
this commission
Yeah.
and to
Yes.
all
Makes
sense.
Drainage and parking.
You have my
Yeah.
vote.
You have our vote.
Do we need a motion of
No.
any sort?
No, it was just a
Okay.
It's just like a
discussion.
Yeah.
resolution of
Okay.
support or a consensus.
Discussion.
But I need to turn this into a project definition.
Right.
Next Monday's
Yes.
agenda for the RCDC, if we're gonna move this.
And I just ask that you don't spend money on stuff we've spent years and years and years and money on in the past. That's where I have this, I'm not comfortable right now because I feel like we're spending money on stuff that we already spent money
We're
on.
really not, because we're talking about speccing a specific project, like for the trail, we're talking about those specific steps, one, two,
And we
three, will
met
be
with
like-
Tim,
will
like
be
he could give us
this.
that proposal if
It'll
we
be a
wanted to.
drawing, it'll say, we're gonna restore, say, 1,000 feet of edging, we're gonna put this much stone in,
Right.
according to this drawing. It'll
No,
have
she's
takeoffs
right. We've
and-
already got that done.
Okay, well, let's give it to us.
Well,
and
it's,
we'll get it.
it's not specified.
It was,
It's
Tim.
conceptualized.
Well, we,
No,
we
it's
can
in
use,
that
Tim can come and talk to us
We
for
can
free.
use-
and tell us.
Furnish anything that you have and want.
Did he send that to you?
Send it to me by
I'll look.
email, I will look at it. We'll
We can
make
use
sure
it as a
whoever we
starting
talk
point.
to- Yeah, it's all useful.
yeah.
I mean, there's
Nicole, did he
nothing's
send that to you?
I'm gonna look.
Okay, if he did, I'll get it from him.
email me, I would love to see it. I looked at
We'll
the
email
park-
it to
at the
everybody.
park master plan, and like I said, there's a lot of fluff in that, but there's anything that you have that's been done is useful and will be much appreciated.
Sure.
Brian, this is the guy that George has been using on the Violet Crown Trail.
And I met with George and we walked the trail.
Right now, I need to define a project. I don't
Okay,
need to
do you
define
need
what
us,
I'm
do you
gonna
need
do.
our input
That's
for that?
exactly right.
Yeah,
That's what I
and
wanna see.
It
Just
needs to be
define the project.
pretty tightly defined, that's what you
Yeah.
need, so.
Well, it will come back to this group and to the RCDC as to actually, and to the council as to actually hiring somebody. The first step is just, according to the process that we have to go through to spend RCDC money, we have to define a project.
Yeah.
The project is going to be providing professional services with respect to the park in the view of the master plan to deal with parking, drainage, and walking trail improvements, and those cost estimates for those.
Yeah.
So that'll give you some specificity then, to either like or don't like.
Yeah.
And I would
Great.
reference the master plan because a lot of the master plan stuff is either out of date or it's been rejected by council. Like, for example, part of the master plan and parking is still in the north parking lot, which nobody's interested in that. So I would just say generally to look at improving existing parking, improving the existing trail, and improving drainage. Those are the three areas that council is supporting that we look forward on. And a good landscape architect, it doesn't matter who it is, as long as they're reputable, if they'll give us a proposal for that, and we can get a couple of proposals. I can help us get proposals, because I'm a real estate developer and I was a development manager whose job is to get me proposals.
Yeah, but I don't want you to get somebody that just wants your idea for parking.
Whatever, I'm not, trust
we
me,
don't
I'm
wanna-
not
I'm
the
teasing you.
naysayer of the Rollingwood community. I learned that very quickly on council, is that it's a consensus of the community that's gonna, and
I'll
there'll
give
be
you-
lots and lots and lots of public input.
Okay.
But just those three areas, some of the stuff is somewhat self-evident, frankly. I mean, it's like not, some of it is just like, the retaining edges are either decayed or missing or poorly designed in the first place, and it grades off on the trailer, like you said, the washout spots, you know, that stabilized granite material is a good solution for those areas. I agree with you. There's not a lot of those areas, but some of, you know, the other option is they use, of course, there's a lot of concrete, it's Austin trails, but I like the other products better. But anyway, I think that's.
We just need to bring
Perfect.
some specificity to these discussions.
Thank you so much.
I think-
Thank you.
Move forward on some of this.
Yeah, I think we got what we need there. Brian, do you want to talk about the park amenities and promotion project?
Very little on it. The Panera people are thinking about it, whether
Mr. Riley,
they've never
can you
done
please speak
something
into the
like
mic?
this before. I thought I'd check with the.
Brian, you have
merchants.
to speak into the mic. Sorry.
Let me just do it this way. I thought what I would do is talk to the merchants who we actually get sales tax from. to see
Sure.
if they wanted to do something like this. Philosophically, I'm a little bit different than you in that I'm seeing these things as just trying something out to see if we can do something that people like, that will bring them to the park, that will get them more invested in the park, rather than as a money-making project. The RCDC has approval from the city council to spend a grand total of $3,000 to subsidize the effort to bring some kind of coffee or hot chocolate or cookies or something.
Don't say cookies.
Breakfast tacos.
Don't say cookies.
Chad wants honey baked ham.
I do.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's an experiment.
Texas honey ham.
Trader Joe's does not do that kind of thing, so now I'll start reaching out to people who put up coffee at farmers markets and do the same kind of thing that we would think about doing here. But the concession stand is not capable of doing the concession stand. This doesn't have the facilities up there. But as long as it has some electricity, we'll just do something under the cover there behind the baseball fields and see how it works. If it doesn't work, we'll go on down the road.
All for it.
The Kona Ice people did very well last year, and I'd be very much, I have their email, I haven't emailed yet. Having them multiple times, frankly, would be a great idea, I think. Okay.
I don't know if this makes a difference, but there is hot water.
Oh, we have hot water?
At the concession stand? Oh, interesting.
And so when you're bringing a, never mind.
Okay, that's my report. And
Okay.
in doing a cleaning out, my wife decided we're doing a a massive renovation firm over on 2906 Hatley, if you want to come up with total chaos. I'm now sleeping in the garage, which has been made into a one-bedroom apartment. But I found the 1984 Little League handbook.
Nice.
And guess who's in there as one of the 12 girls?
Players?
Yep, if you doubt my history with Hatley Park, here's 1984.
A long time
That's
ago.
so
My-
awesome.
Yeah.
my son.
I wish there were pictures.
I know. What's crazy is someone typed that up and then mimeographed.
I know.
It was on
I
a
know.
mimeograph machine. It
I
wasn't even
know.
on a
I said
This is so
mimeograph,
cool.
yeah.
It was not typed on.
You can probably still smell it.
Laptop and then
It was
mass
not-
produced.
It was not in electronic form, but it's a historical remnant.
Yep.
I guess
That's
I either we
awesome.
ought to preserve it or I want it back. I don't know which. I'll talk to your chairperson about that. That's all.
Thank you so much.
appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. With that, I would make a motion we adjourn.
Yay.
Everybody in favor? Second? All that?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Then we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Chad, take a picture of what you want.
I will.